Okay.
Okay. My name is Nick, and this is my beautiful wife, Megan.
We've been married for 6 years, and we have 2 beautiful children, Aiden and Riley.
COVID hit. The world is in a different place. One of my best friends, I'm in his backyard, and he's painting a picture, talking about we only have one life to live. We've got gifts and talents on the inside, and our Heavenly Father has given us all an assignment. And he started talking about to live that assignment to the fullest potential, to go put yourself and your family and your children in the most fertile soil for your specific assignment.
Hey, Nick Unsworth, do you remember those chairs right there? Because that's where you and I were sitting. When I cast my vision, I was like, dude, I'm gonna move to Texas. I'm gonna take my family here, and this is what our life is gonna look like. And about 7 weeks later, you're living in Texas. And I was like, this dude beat me to my own dream.
I heard what he was saying. He started talking about Pastor Keith and Sheila and talking about their mission and their desire to build kingdom entrepreneurs and their leadership culture. And I just started like nodding my head, and I'm like, that's what I want.
Living in San Diego, we kind of made this inner vow, if you will, and said, we're never leaving because we're planted in our church. And I just never in a million years thought that we would ever be moving. And I had always said, if I don't live in San Diego, I would live in Dallas. We're talking about that. And I'm like, well, we're never going to know if we don't go.
I vividly remember pulling into this neighborhood and seeing these houses and seeing this big open field when you first pull in, and literally seeing myself and our family here get out of the car. And I just look at Megan and I'm like, look at my arms. I'm like, I've got goosebumps head to toe. Even before we walked in the house, I literally knew like, this is going to be our house. This is going to be where we raise our children. And we're going to be 2 miles from Elevate Life. And if you've ever had that experience of when you know, this is it. And it was just way ahead of what our thoughts were as far as moving. But we just went into like overdrive praying. And I vividly remember and had an experience where God said the time is now. Mm-hmm. And so as soon as I felt that and I heard God speak, then I was like, I'm all in. I pushed the chips in. I'm like, babe, the time is now. I'm all in. Everything happened in God's perfect alignment and with his plan. Because we listen and we're obedient, God was just outpouring blessing and favor. We beelined it to Texas, and from landing and getting here, it's just been incredible.
We went away and planned our year in December to come back and then listen to Pastor Keith on New Year's Eve. He delivers the word possible. We get all excited about that. It's in my notebook. I have my kids learning a verse, and I'm like, I want them to learn this verse, and it's, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's in our declaration. Our kids are learning it. They're 3 and they're 4.
And I'm a little slow to pick it all. I'm like, wait, what's going
and
on?
I'm like
She's
jumping
like,
up and down.
This is my notebook that we've been planning our year in. Pastor Keith just said, the word is possible, and just broke it down. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. That's a lot of things lining up.
I think when God just moves and he aligns things, he just shows you in confirmation, like you're on the right path, you're with the right people at the right time in the right place. And we just so felt that. And then there was a Sunday at church, and I was saying like, hey, I think I found what I want our verse of the year to be for us, like for our life and for our business. And it was the Jabez prayer. And then that Sunday, Pastor Keith is talking, he's declaring things over. He's like, you should be reading this every day over your life. And it was the Jabez prayer. And I'm like, I'm nudging him.
Just give me the elbow.
Like, babe, like, oh my gosh, did you just hear? Like, remember on Monday, I brought you.
She showed me the post. And I'm like, okay, God has made it very clear.
Very, very clear.
Very obvious we're in the right place at the right time with the right people. It has just been one thing after the next with favor. First half of 2020, we were down. And we were having the worst first half of the year we've ever had. And COVID hits, and we're up against all these challenges. And then the back half, moving to Texas, We have made up the full year, and we have been ahead and had literally the best year we've ever had. It didn't really make sense for us to move, but we knew that with God being in it, that he kind of moved everything around, and we made a decision to be really generous despite the circumstance. That's where we saw God show up, and we went from the worst year we've ever had to the best year we've ever had. And all that happened in the last 5 months.
5 months, yeah.
My greatest encouragement to you would be to really dig deep and think about, what has God shown you? What has God told you? And what could you do to put it into action? As soon as God, told us to be, the time is now to get to Texas, we jumped on it, and then there was so much favor on it. So what has God been nudging you to do that you can put into play and put into action right now? The breakthrough is in the stretch. It's one thing to give when it's easy. It's one thing to give when it's comfortable. And so, I want to encourage you also to stretch. If you haven't ever stretched before in giving, put God to the test. You can't outgive God, and his word tells you to test him in this. Test him with your give and stretch, and then be believing and have an expectation on it. And we just believe that there's going to be favor and blessing upon you, because there is favor in this ELC house.